Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show.
Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Everything is Bad Newfangled Motion Picture Show. I'm your host, Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And today, you're going to test your might. Or something.
Yeah. Because we're reviewing
Mortal Kombat.
You said it wrong.
I'm not blowing out the audio, dude.
Alright.
I'm pretty sure that would not be... I'm not even sure that would actually record, because I think that would hit the top end of the noise getting shut off. Anyway, so we're going to do a spoiler-free review. I mean, it's Mortal Kombat. Like, not like there's a whole lot of story here, but we're going to do a spoiler-free review, and then give you a spoiler warning and get more in-depth into it after that. So, yeah. To me, this movie was exactly what I wanted from a Mortal Kombat movie. Now, we should probably get this out in the open.
Uh-huh.
We're not Mortal Kombat people. We were a Fatal Fury house growing up.
Yeah, we're a Fatal Fury. No, we're a Darkstalker's house.
Yeah. No, so
Virtua Fighter house.
Yeah.
No, I mean we've both played Mortal Kombat. We're not total unknowns. We have played Mortal Kombat. I played several of them, but it's not. I
mean, I would go over to my friend's house and he had Mortal Kombat 2, I think, and Street Fighter 2 on the SNES. And Street Fighter 2 was just a better game, so we played that one mostly.
Right. I think I played 3 the most because I had a friend who had 3 on the SNES. And that's the one. I don't think I've played any of them since 4, and I played that in the arcade.
Yeah, I haven't played any since Super Nintendo, so
yeah.
Whichever one it was I was playing.
We're not big fighting game fans in general.
Yeah.
But we are aware of Mortal Kombat and a number of the characters, and
so we just thought we'd get that out there. You know, I heard some of the real hardcore fans have some issues with the movie. I didn't, so
yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, basically, it comes down to this: this movie is Mortal Kombat. It's got just enough story to explain why these weirdos are all fighting each other with superpowers. But other than that, it's got a bunch of badass fight scenes and a bunch of fatalities ripped straight from the video games. I don't know what else you want from it.
Right, and the visual effects are good.
Yeah, I don't know what else you could possibly want from this movie. I mean, so look, okay.
Especially after all the really bad Mortal Kombat media that's out there, like between.
You didn't like Annihilation?
Between. There's been 3 movies or something, and 2 of them were just the worst. And there was a bad TV show or something. I'm not, from my understanding. So I've just heard that basically the only watchable Mortal Kombat media is the first movie.
I've seen bits of it. I haven't seen the whole thing all the way through. I think they used to play it. I think they used to play it on the Sci-Fi Channel or something in the afternoons.
I saw it. I first saw it when I've seen it a few times. I first saw it when it originally came out in 95 or whenever that was.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, Sonya Blade was a little rough, her line delivery.
I think some of that is Sonya Blade is responsible for most of the exposition.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Which, to be fair, the movie calls attention to the fact that it's bananas.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty funny joke.
Yeah.
When it does that. We get that in the spoiler section. But yeah, I mean, you got to go into it knowing that the plot is crazy.
Yeah. And I guess they could have done a better job maybe with the exposition, because there's just an info dump about 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
It's just here's what Mortal Kombat is about.
So, yeah.
But there's some sweet fight scenes. You can go watch the first, I think it's 11 minutes on the Inside Gaming YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think it's a spoiler. It's a fight between Bihan or Sub-Zero when he's still under the name of Bihan, and Scorpion when he's still under the name of Hanzo Hasashi. I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler. It's right at the beginning of the movie.
Right. Well, a lot of the trailer is taken from that sequence.
Yeah, the like, you know, medieval Japan architecture, like house in the background in the woods, like that's what that's all about.
Another thing, I'm glad they went with a rated R.
Yeah,
with an R rating, because this movie earns it through a lot of gore,
violence,
and
just like the video game.
Yeah, well, Mortal Kombat, that was its shtick when it was like between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2, right? And when they hit the home consoles, Street Fighter 2 is a better game. I'm sorry, it is. But Mortal Kombat had the gore and the violence, and that was its selling point.
Unless you played on the SNES, then all the blood was green, as I recall.
I think there was like some code to change it. You entered in a code and it changed it to red or something. The Genesis version left it alone.
Yeah.
But Genesis doesn't have enough buttons to properly play a fighting game.
You had to get the 6-button Genesis controller.
Right.
But yeah, so it's, I mean, like, so it's got most of the original cast of weirdos, plus Jax, right?
Yeah, he wasn't in the original.
As far as like
Kung Lao wasn't in the original.
Yeah, and Kung Lao. So as far as like the hero characters goes,
yeah.
Because like Cabal was not
right
either, and
I think he was introduced in 3.
What about Goro?
Goro was in 2.
But yeah, so it's so it's got like pretty much all the main original like good guy characters except for Johnny Cage, which, to be fair, I could understand why they wouldn't do that in the first movie, because he would just own every scene he's in if they did him right.
So I think one of the things that I'm not sure what the fans are upset about, but one of them might be the introduction of this new character,
Cole Young.
Yeah, so the main character is a character named Cole Young, who's like this MMA fighter, but he's one of the chosen champions. And he's brand new, made it for the movie, and they did this, I think, for a couple reasons. One is you needed a character who didn't know anything about the universe for all the exposition to be given to, so that the audience can now understand what's going on. But also, if you bring in this new character to be the main character, you don't then snub anyone else's favorite character.
Yeah, like no one's main got screwed over as a result.
Yeah,
unless you're maining the bad guys.
Yeah, or you're maining a character who's just not in the movie.
Yeah.
But like the original movie, they treated Liu Kang more or less as the main character. But yeah, in this you got Cole Young. He's the main character. You follow him, and it didn't bother me. I guess it might bother some fans.
He was cool. He was a likable enough character, and he had a cool ability.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Kano stole most of the scenes he was in.
Oh yeah, he was great.
He was funny. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about the story. Is dumb, but it's this basic plot of the basic background of Mortal Kombat. I mean, it's dumb. That's not why you're playing Mortal Kombat. That's not why you're watching this movie.
No.
And I appreciate that they didn't do they didn't do the Godzilla versus Kong thing of it's a dumb story, but they just leaned into it too hard in that. Yeah,
I was gonna bring up that people, if anyone watched our Godzilla versus Kong video, they might point out you had a problem with it in Godzilla vs. Kong with the story being crazy. It's Godzilla vs. Kong leaned too far into it.
It was not a good balance.
And basically there's this, all the stupid stuff was the subplots.
Yeah.
Going on, and they don't stick to established rules.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, however crazy the rules are, they establish them and they stick to them.
Yep.
And whatever the story may be, it is not nearly as stupid or bizarre as Godzilla vs. Kong.
Right. Well, in Godzilla vs. Kong, it was also to the detriment of giant monster fighting. This one, I don't think we go more than a few minutes without a fight in this movie.
Yeah, I saw one review saying there wasn't enough fighting. I'm like, what movie did you see?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it starts off with a fight. Granted, it's not a Mortal Kombat fight. It's just two MMA fighters fighting.
Yeah.
But like it starts off with a fight.
It's still violent and gory.
Yeah, I think there's like 10 minutes after that first fight before the second fight. And well, but then you also have because there's a fight in the middle of that too. Yeah, there's just so much fighting going on. I guess you could argue that maybe the sparring going on in the middle, like there's a training section, and because the fighters have got to get better in time for the tournament for Mortal Kombat. But I guess you could argue that wasn't really fighting. I don't know. They were still using powers and abilities, so
they're still throwing punches at each other.
Yeah. But yeah, and it was cool too because like they got a bunch of fatality moves in there, and like there's some of them too. Even if you haven't played the games much, like we haven't, there's some of where a character will do something and you're like, well, that has to be a fatality. That's just so ridiculous.
Well, some of them you recognize because you've seen videos of them, you've seen advertisements, or you've seen people playing the game, and you're like, okay, I recognize that fatality.
Yeah.
But usually, if a character does something really crazy, you're like, that's a fatality.
I think actually every opponent that is defeated through a fatality move.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. So
except for anyone Cole defeats because he's not being a character. I mean, he does a move that would be his fatality.
Oh yeah, but since he's not in the video game, it's not
really a fatality. But he does a move that would be his fatality, where they'd add him to the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's. Oh, they also find ways to sneak in the like, finish him and
test your
might and the fight.
Yeah.
And the flawless victory. Yeah, so they drop those in, and it's pretty cheesy, but it's funny, and it's like a little like wink and nod for the fans. So whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought this. I enjoyed this movie. I was actually pretty excited going into it, and it didn't disappoint.
No, I think this is the best possible Mortal Kombat movie you can have.
Yeah.
I look forward to a possible sequel. They set it up for possible sequels.
Yeah, so the dude who played Sub-Zero, I think, I saw was contracted for 4 movies, assuming that this one did well.
Yeah, I hope it does. I want to see more.
There's so many characters they can bring in, and they ended setting up for a sequel. I will say that. We'll get more to that in the spoiler section, but they do end it like clearly intending a sequel that's going to pick up where this one left off, basically.
Yeah. I recommend this movie. I think people should go see it.
The only thing is I kind of would have liked and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailers, but I would have liked the Sub-Zero Scorpion fight to go on a little longer. Just because that was a really cool fight, really cool matchup.
So I was reading, I don't know if it's true, but I was reading that when they initially submitted this movie to the MPAA, it was given an NC-17 rating, and they had to cut it down. It was for violence.
Yeah, it's all for violence. There's no nudity or anything.
Yeah, there's no nudity in this movie or anything. And they had to cut it down because of the violence.
That's incredible.
I want to see that cut.
Hitting NC-17 for violence is impressive. Because, if Saw is R-rated, right?
I could see where an early cut of Saw might have been an NC-17 rating, too.
Yeah. But yeah, so that would be a cool if they like release a director's cut where they put some of that stuff back in. That
would be cool. And so
Snyder cut of Mortal Kombat.
But so I wanted to bring up like I think they do probably a decent enough job of explaining this that you don't have to be like familiar with the game that much to understand what's going on. Like
we have a very tangential relation to this game.
Right. Well, our mother saw the trailer and she's like, "Oh, I might." She expressed interest in the movie, but didn't want to see it because she was afraid that she wouldn't know what's going on or who any of these characters are.
Yeah.
She didn't want to have to like do any research beforehand, and that's fair enough. But I think someone without any prior knowledge could get by.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I agree. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah, it was good.
So. Yeah, definitely recommend go to see it. This feels like Warner Brothers' real like triumphant return to the theater because Wonder Woman 84 was not good.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs. Kong was bad.
But it did well.
It did well.
But I hope, like I said, I hope this movie does well enough to get its sequels. And it's nice to see someone finally putting the budget into a video game movie that it needs.
Yes.
Because the visual effects were all very good. Goro, there were a couple times where he was... Well, I mean, he's obviously CG,
yeah.
but there were a few times you're like, not terrible.
Yeah, it helped that it was always at night.
Yeah, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
You can hide a lot at night. So Goro wasn't terribly executed, but there were times you're like,
I mean,
wow. It stood out as CG.
He did look like an orc from the Warcraft movie with an extra pair of arms.
Right. There's the original movie, they actually used like animatronics and a puppet and stuff, and it looked pretty good for that time. Probably the best visual effects in that movie were the Goro stuff.
Yeah.
Because the CG parts were bad.
Yeah.
But then, at the same time, like the reptile stuff was obviously also CG, but done better, I think.
Well, I mean, he's also invisible for half of that fight.
That's true, and I think Goro suffers from being somewhat resembling a human, and so that's always harder.
Yeah. But, so definitely go check it out if you haven't seen it.
Right, so spoiler warning?
Yeah. So, what were we gonna talk about? The
we had a number of things. The joke about the plot.
Oh yeah, so there's it starts off with a fight, then there's like 5 minutes, and then Sub-Zero shows up, and Jax goes after him, and that's a really one-sided fight. And there's like another 5 minutes, and then Cole shows up and meets Sonya Blade, and she just info dumps.
She explains all about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, about the prophecy of chosen fighters and how Outworld has won for 9 times in a row or something.
Right, and Outworld wants Earth because Outworld's a shithole and Earth's a nice place.
Right, and it's like so if they win one more time, they win Earth or something, right?
Yeah, they get control of Earth.
So
so Sonya Blade's dumping all of this onto Cole.
Right, it's ridiculous. And Cole's like looks at her for a second, just goes, "You just made that up. Look, they didn't even spell combat right."
yeah.
So
you just made it. Sounds like you made it. You didn't even spell combat wrong.
Yeah, so it's a pretty funny joke. Like they just really call attention to, this is ridiculous. This is bananas,
right.
And that's fine because it's Mortal Kombat. And I mean some of the fatalities too. If you were to make this movie and it were not in like Mortal Kombat wasn't a thing, right? Mm-hmm. And you put some of these fatality moves in there, you'd be like, okay. Like, all right, but because it is what it is, you're like, oh, that's the thing. Well, like Kung Lao did the thing like with the hat.
Yeah, Kung Lao's thing was he like his hat's like spinning in the ground like a buzzsaw, and then he takes what was her name, Nitara, and he like flies her into that thing because he's like jumps on her back and she's flying around, and he forces her down into it and cuts her in half on the buzzsaw, which really pisses off Shang Tsung because he's obviously like I don't know, got a thing for her in this.
Yeah. And then like Kano kills a reptile by busting the heart, ripping his heart out by like through the back.
Yeah, and then when he's
Yeah.
he goes, Kano wins.
He goes, Kano wins because he's Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty silly. I mean and then the fight scene between Scorpion and Sub-Zero at the end is so cool though. Like,
oh yeah.
and like because Sub-Zero's fighting Cole and Cole's not doing great, and then Sub-Zero gets skewered through the shoulder by the grappling hook, and it starts playing the remix they used of the main thing. The song.
Right.
And it pans over, and there's Scorpion there, and he just like, get over here, and he does it better in the movie than they did in the trailer. Sounds weird in the trailer,
yeah,
but they did it better in the movie. Luckily, since they're both wearing masks, it's easy to ADR that.
Right.
Yeah, and does like, get over here, and and pulls him towards him. It's so cool. It's such a cool payoff.
It is, and I got chills when that happened too.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And it's like. It's like, and we're not even like you said, we're not even like big fans of Mortal Kombat or something, but to us, that was a cool payoff.
Right. And so Cole, we mentioned Cole's power because everyone has their power that's their own, and so Cole's is he forms this like armor, this body armor, and then when he takes a hit, it like absorbs energy, and then he can release that into a punch.
Yeah.
Which kind of it goes along with his character because as an MMA fighter, he didn't win that often, but he always took a beating.
Yeah. Because he didn't ever fight defensively. He was always like all offense.
And right, so he wound up taking a lot of hits.
We get that through exposition in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's just cool movie all around. Like we got to see Liu Kang's like fire dragon and
yeah, that was cool.
And like Jax doing the like arms on punches either side of the dude's head to kill him.
Yeah, crushes it.
Yeah,
the movie was really gory.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, it's super cool. So definitely go check that out. I mean, it is what it is. It's a Mortal Kombat movie.
So yeah, currently its rating on IMDb I think is a little low.
Yeah,
it's like 6.4 as of this recording. I think it definitely needs to be.
I think it deserves a 7. I would give it a 7 myself out of 10.
Yeah.
Just because it is what it is. Now, if this movie were to come out in a vacuum and there was no Mortal Kombat, I would be like, oh Jesus, this movie was like a 4. Because it's just kind of dumb.
Right. I guess so. Yeah. But yeah, you kind of expect some level of absurdity in Mortal Kombat. But I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. So, what's our next movie, Nolan?
Oh, I don't know.
Stuff keeps moving around.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the next movie's going to be.
Wrath of Man, I think, is the next one.
Okay.
Which is the next Guy Ritchie movie. And so that's next month. Also, Spiral is next month. Probably seeing that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cruella's at the end of the month. We're kind of obligated to see that. So. But yeah, so assuming nothing crazy changes between now and the next few weeks, that's what we got coming up. I think the next thing that we're like really excited for is probably The Kingsman, which is in August.
Yeah.
Right now, anyway.
That's what I'm most excited for coming up.
Well, that and Dune.
Yeah, but
Dune's December? Or they haven't said.
They haven't said, but apparently it has a European and Australian release date for like the summer, like August or something. So it might actually be then.
Oh, okay.
They haven't confirmed it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, also, Green Knight looks cool. Jungle Cruise is coming up. Death on the Nile at some point is coming out, supposedly, right? Suicide Squad actually looks cool. Free Guy. So, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff coming up, like, towards the end of summer, assuming that, like, stuff doesn't get shifted around. That Candyman movie never came out? Really?
Really? Huh.
Huh.
I
Oh,
guess the Candyman can.
Shang-Chi, I'm actually way more excited for than Black Widow, too. So, but yeah, so please go to movie theaters. Mortal Kombat was pretty well attended. So that's, gives me hope.
Yeah, but there were only like 3 movies showing this weekend.
Yeah.
Like Mortal Kombat, that Demon Slayer movie.
Yeah.
There's like something else.
At that theater.
At that theater, yeah.
So.
But they all seem to be.
Yeah, there was we got there. We're like, oh, I guess because we got there, with like 15, 20 minutes before the movie time or something like that, and the line for the concessions was pretty long. We're like, I guess we should have gotten here earlier. For a year now, we've been able to just walk into the concession stand and like order immediately.
Right.
So it's good to see people going back to the movie theaters, at least in this town. Because we need people attending movies if they're ever gonna release Dune in theaters.
Yeah, that's a movie you gotta see in theaters.
Yeah, because I really don't see, because that's Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
I really don't see Warner Brothers releasing that before they end their like stream at home option through HBO Max. Like, they did it for Wonder Woman, they did it for Godzilla, they did it for Mortal Kombat.
Because that movie's never gonna recoup its
right.
money if it doesn't.
Yeah,
have theatrical.
If they don't sell out theaters for that movie, it's not going to recoup its costs. So I really see them just pushing it back conveniently until after they decide to end the streaming option on HBO Max.
Yeah,
would be my guess. So, but sounds like we got coming up. Go see movies. Until next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening.